Here in my garage, gonna open up this nice little package. This is from Johanna's Garden in Washington, Buckley, Washington. And these are cuttings from this nice little guy. It's called a Goumi berry. This one is in particular called the Pippi, like Pippi Longstocking. But I'm gonna unwrap this. I got a couple of soft and hardwood pieces from it to see if I could graft and propagate from both of them or either of them. So I'm gonna try this rooting hormone and see if I can grow this Goumi bush from these cuttings. Oh, and they gave me a couple extra ones. So that's nice. This is still actually moist. This paper is still moist. So let me move that stuff out of the way. And these guys cut in the end and they're green. I don't know if you can see it. So it's still green on the end. So that's good. And these guys, which would be better for grafting on it. So I've heard that these are pretty hard to propagate and graft, but I'm gonna try it anyways. I'm gonna reserve these two to be able to graft, and then I'm going to take these guys and plant them. So I'm gonna try out both and see what works. And then over here, I have some grapevines that I'm just gonna see and propagate, because this video is based off of whether or not the Clone X is going to work better or the rooted powder. So I'm gonna try both of these in two different pots and see which one produces, or if they both produce really good. So we'll see how that goes. We'll get to the cuttings. I'll cut these all up. Basically what you want to have is a couple of nodes that you can plant into the soil, so it'll go down to the soil about there, and I'll have a couple or three nodes sitting above the surface. So that's one thing to do. The other is same with the grapevines. You want to select some grapevine that is has a couple of nodes. So there's one, there's one. So usually you can take a cutting that has 5 nodes. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if I want to cut above the 5th or at the bottom, either way, doesn't really matter, 4 or 5 nodes. And then you just dip them in and plant them. So, and you saw that I got sand in for my medium. I will use that sand to grow this in, and if they don't grow, then that kind of sucks. But if they do grow, then stellar. So now I'm just gonna cut these guys up into manageable proportions. One other thing I want to point out, notice the angle here of the buds or the nodes. Those are angling upward, or I guess to the left here. And I'm cutting it flat on the bottom end here, and I'm cutting it at a slope or an angle at the top. That helps me know which direction is up so that I plant it like this in the soil. Okay, there I go. I have all of these guys that I can dip. And both of them, I'm gonna segregate them to size so that size doesn't really make much of a difference between the two different rooting hormones. All right, so these will go into the rooting powder. These will go into the Clone X. Let's try this baby out and see how it works. Here's another thing that I'm gonna try with these larger pieces of the Pippi. I'm gonna take it and notice where the buds, they're going up like that. So I know that this is the bottom and these guys are going up. So this is the top. So I'm gonna do kind of like a air layering technique, which is to remove part of this hard wood that is sitting on the outside. And the way that you do that is you take it and push it lightly into the bark, kind of like that, because you want to get to the cambium layer. And then you cut it down like this. And you should be able to peel back this layer here of bark. So the cambium is where all the nutrition is and goes up the wood to provide nutrients and support to the rest of the tree or bush. This is a Goumi Bush, but I know that the cambium layer is sitting on the outside here. So I'm just trying to peel it off. It is a little bit wet, which is okay. And I'm trying this at the very lowest part of the wood because I want it, in case it doesn't work, maybe I can get a good layer of this to show through or come through when I plant it. All right, so there I have created a circumference of the cambium going around it. And I'm gonna do that. There we go. And I'm gonna do that with the other one. And then I'm gonna take the rooting medium and plant it. So go from there. Here I have my two little buckets. This one will be for the gel. This one will be for the powder. Here I have my two little guys. It's according to the directions, you're supposed to dip it in, tap it, and then place it in the soil. Now, each one of these cuttings are about 2 to 3 inches away from each other. That gives it a little bit of room to be able to grow with the roots. These other grapevines, I don't really care. I don't have enough room for them. So I made little plastic cuttings here. You can kind of see them. And I'm just going to label it. Gel and powder. That way I can take it, put it into my, there we go, put it into the pot. So here I have my gel, here's the powder. I'm gonna lightly water them and then I'm going to keep them indoors. According to the directions of these things, it says keep them in a space that is 70 degrees or warmer in order to grow them. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take them in my house, put them in there, because in the garage right now it's about 50 degrees and outside it is 28 degrees. So in order to get them to grow and plant them in the next 3 weeks, I'm gonna try to keep them a little bit warm. So I will come back in a couple of weeks and we'll check out the roots, see how they're doing. Okay, it's been 4, maybe 6 weeks since I potted these, and They've been doing pretty good. This one is the powder version, and then this one is the gel that I used. The gel, there's nothing growing on it. The powder version, it seems to be that grapevines are growing well with it. The gel version, actually, this Goumi started to grow like a week after planting it. And now it's just dark. It hasn't grown anymore. I don't know if it's dead or not, but I'll do a little scratch test and see, because I have nothing to lose with these guys. All right, I did a scratch test and it looks to be pretty brown. So I'm gonna take this thin one and gently pull it out. Let's see if there's any roots on it. Okay, doesn't look like there's any roots on it. So this Goumi, not so much, no roots I could see on it. Let's try out one of these other guys. I'm actually gonna just leave that out. All right, I've heard you need to be really delicate, but because this is just sand, maybe that is gonna help. I live in a pretty arid area. Oh, snap. A pretty arid area, and so I need to water things more than not. And if I take this guy out, nothing. This guy is pretty fat, but no growth, nothing on that one. No new growth on this one either. Okay, so with grapevines, this one doesn't really have any growth on it at all. Let's go to the powdered version, and I'm gonna remove some of the sand away from it. Good little experiment. Oh, something popped. Yep, I felt a couple of pops. So that is telling me that it was starting to root. Okay, and it was. If you look at this right there, maybe you can see it right there. That's a little root that was starting to go. Pretty dark wood though, so maybe I overwatered. Or maybe I underwatered. Who knows? All right, we're gonna check this guy. Gently. Oh yeah, that came out really easy. There was nothing on there. So, no growth with 2 of the grapes and 2 of these. Obviously there's some growth here because it is growing. So it would have to have brewed down for it to start to grow. So I'm gonna be gentle and try to get see if we can look at the root structure. I have no intention of planting these trees, so. I have no intention of planting these grapevines. Oh, it's all the way at the bottom. Yeah, that popped out pretty good. So, good root development. It was all the way at the very bottom where it was starting to come out. So maybe that is the key. The parts that went all the way to the bottom where the water started to pool up is where they would start to root out. The rest of them were not placed all the way at the bottom. Let's see, this one was placed at the bottom. No roots. That's just part of the tree. Okay, so kind of a failed experiment, I guess, to try out the 2 different rooting hormones and see what works. Oh, look at that root system. Yeah, buddy. That is nice, right? All right, so it seems to be powder works better for grapes, and I don't know about gummies, but grapes it seems to work out good for. Whereas the gel, not so much for, that was all the way at the bottom also. Hey, there was some shoots that were starting. Maybe not. No, never mind. It wasn't. All right, here's the Goumi that was starting to go. Let's just check it out and see. Doesn't seem to be anything there. And this is the one that I cut all the way around the bottom and exposed it to see if I could get more roots to grow. And this is actually pretty wet, so grafting a Goumi, I heard for propagation it's pretty hard for these to start, but it's pretty flexible. I wonder if it's still alive and it's just dormant. Yeah, some water's starting to come out of that thing. All right, let's check out these guys. Nothing. So maybe with sand, it's not the best way to propagate these guys. This one was the one that was starting to grow, and then it stopped. So I don't know if it started growing down here, and then it was just not getting the nutrition that it needed, and then died. Not sure. But anyways, I hope that was a pretty awesome failed experiment. But hopefully you learned some things from it. I know I did. I'm going to try a couple of different things, maybe not propagate in soil, maybe propagate in sand. Maybe I should propagate in some planting soil and see how that goes. So next year, I'll do another experiment with propagation. Maybe sand is the right thing and I overwatered, and that's why there's all this nice little dark wood in there from the water getting soaked into it. Who knows? I'll try something different though. Thanks for watching. And please leave your comments below because I really want to get this stuff right and I don't know what I'm doing wrong or what I'm doing right. So anything will help. Thank you and have a stellar day.